Hey everybody, my name is Braden, and today we are reacting to Idaho's impossible rainforest. Why am I reacting to that? Because I'm like, the fuck? Idaho has a rainforest? Like, wait, is that common knowledge? Do we all know that? What's it even called? Like, does it have a name? Wouldn't it be having a name? I mean, I'm guessing that kind of makes sense. A rainforest would be next to the mountains, because isn't Idaho part of a mountain range? Yeah, I kind of know geography and whatnot, and I kind of know my states. I kind of did take social studies in school, so if you know what that is. Let's get right into it. Pretty eager to see
Idaho.
all this. You know what
Every
I mean?
summer, these forests burn, and every winter they get buried in snow. Rain comes from the ocean, but that's hundreds of miles away. And on top of all that, it doesn't rain that much out here. Everything I've learned about rainforests tells me that this shouldn't be one. But I look around, and this is a rainforest if I've ever seen one.
Pretty interesting looking
It's the
place.
start of the 1800s, and Europeans are making their first explorations of northwestern North America. They're looking for new places to trap furs, and for the Northwest Passage, a fabled water route connecting the Atlantic and Pacific. The Northwest Company has sent out David Thompson to map the region, make contact with indigenous groups, and establish fur trading posts. He's the first European to explore these mountains. He ascends the eastern slope of the Rocky Mountains, begins the descent down the western slope, and describes what feels like stepping into a different world. The climate warms, snow turns to rain, and the trees become massive. He sees raging rivers fed entirely by melting snow, with vast stocks of beavers and salmon. Forests packed with moose, bald eagles, wolves.
It's not funny,
and
this is so
mountain
interesting,
grizzly
but, like,
bears. And
what's
he
the
ponders the
underlining?
systems allowing this place to even exist. What may be the volume of water contained in the immense quantities of
obviously
snow
the
brought to the
narration
mountains
is
from
pretty
the
good.
Pacific Ocean? These are mysterious operations on a scale so vast that the human mind is lost in the contemplation. Well, 200 years later, scientists are still contemplating. Temperate rainforests cover less than 1% of the Earth's surface. The largest and most famous is the coastal rainforests of the Pacific Northwest. The redwoods, Olympic, Vancouver Island.
That's what it was
Here, weather
reminding me
systems
of.
from the Pacific smother the coastal mountains with near constant rain and fog. So much that by the time these weather systems pass the coast, they're not done yet.
So I think that,
They
I
keep
don't know if
moving
that was,
inland,
is that just
eventually
how you
running
talk
into the
about it, or
western
like, was that like a
slopes of the
Twilight
Columbia
reference?
and Rocky
Like,
Mountains.
or is that just like not even Twilight?
12,000
Who
years ago,
knows?
ice sheets cover these mountains, carving high peaks and deep, smooth valleys below them. As Pacific weather systems reach these mountains, they drop rain in the spring and buckets of snow in the winter. That snow melts in the summer, draining into the deepest valleys and keeping the soil moist despite frequent summer droughts and wildfires. And it's in these deepest valleys where moisture accumulates that we find the oldest forests, allowed to evade wildfires for hundreds or even thousands of years, and develop into a lush, old-growth, temperate rainforest. This forest exists in patches across Washington, Montana, and Idaho, and reaches its fullest extent further north in British Columbia.
Fuck, where the hell is Idaho?
With
That's what I'm thinking.
98% of the world's temperate
Right now.
rainforests
Like,
being
where is-
coastal,
that's pretty
an
nice looking,
inland
you know what I
temperate
mean? Like, why are the
rainforest
trees,
is
like-
something completely unique. A vast temperate rainforest more than 500 kilometers from the ocean, and the world's only rainforest deriving a large
Dude, this would be
portion
such a
of
cool
its
Minecraft
moisture
biome.
from
Like,
snow.
on a real note, I know they kind of have one with
All of that
the,
melting snow has
with
resulted
the big
in a
dark oak,
landscape
or with the
connected
big
by
spruce trees, you know what I
hundreds
mean?
of waterways,
But like,
wetlands, streams,
see a vision.
lakes, and the headwaters for 3 major rivers.
because the orange trees, like,
Well,
just throw a new tree in there and
I'm in
start
Idaho,
seeing there.
but certainly doesn't feel like it. Feels more like the coast, maybe Oregon or Vancouver Island. This region doesn't just experience
That's
the
so
weather
cool.
that you would
Whoa,
expect
they
on
have
the
lakes.
coast. It has nearly the exact same species.
Wait, there's
These
actually, like,
forests
that'd be a
dominated
cool
by
place to
western
camp,
red
wouldn't it?
cedar
And they have
western
moose.
hemlock.
They have
Trees
moose there.
mostly found on
Wouldn't
the
that be so
coast.
cool to
The
experience?
same
Ultra
goes for
Boys has
most
to
of
go
the
here.
shrubs, ferns,
Maybe he
and
has.
mosses
Wouldn't that
found
be cool to
here,
react
a
to?
lot of the birds, most mammals, and especially lichens.
Maybe I need
The
to go
inland
here.
rainforest is
100K
one of the
likes
lichen
and I'll go here.
communities
I'll
of
camp
any
there.
temperate forest.
I'll like go to
And
Dollar
so
General and
many
buy
of
some
these
stuff.
species are
and go
found
camp here.
nowhere except here and the coast. So how did all of these species make this leap several hundred kilometers inland?
Oh my
These
gosh,
forests
wouldn't it be
are
so
believed
cool
to
to
have
like
formed
just see those
between
trees too
6,000
with
and
mushrooms
2,000
on it?
years
Wouldn't that be so cool
working
to
their
see? Or
way
even
north
moss.
after the retreat of the ice.
And like
Perhaps
just
it
explore.
existed in small patches
Imagine
south
stumbling
of the
upon a
ice,
bear.
expanding north.
And maybe it'd give me
climate
Stranger
north.
Things vibes, like
Or
Stranger
maybe they
Things
came
2
from the
vibes, because they were
coast,
like
following
exploring.
isolated migration routes inland.
Let's listen.
There's evidence for both, and we're not quite sure. These old forests provide habitat for gray wolves, mountain lions, moose, ospreys, herons, rare
Those would
rare
be
frogs,
scary
and
to run
salamanders
into.
found only here. A brand new slug just discovered in 2018. The colder forests at higher elevations.
Imagine
are
finding
lynx,
something. Imagine
wolverines,
discovering an
and the
animal or
alpine
like
tundra
a
above
mythical
is home to
animal.
mountain
Wouldn't that be
goats
so
and
cool?
pikes.
Like you
The
stumble upon a
waterways are
griffin.
home to river otters,
That wouldn't make any
beavers, and
sense.
Pacific salmon.
I meant like
Each
maybe
year,
like a
millions
jackalope,
of
but
salmon
even then I
swim
think that's not
hundreds
right
of miles
either.
upstream
But
to
you get what I
spawn,
mean? Wouldn't that be
bringing
cool? Like
nutrients from
Bigfoot,
the
I guess,
ocean
would
with
be
them.
good.
Bald eagles and grizzly
Reference
bears
for you.
eat the salmon, dragging them through the trees and allowing
Whoa.
this entire
We did this in
forest
biology, like
to be
food maps
nourished
and
by these
whatnot.
nutrients from the ocean more than 500 kilometers.
It comes
away.
back. We're gonna use it again.
Alright, I
Or
love big
whatnot.
trees. I just spotted these two absolute chunkers on the other side of the creek. Look at this thing. That's huge. Another big one over here.
Several indigenous groups have made use of this rainforest, selectively harvesting western red cedar and turning it into homes, canoes, cookware, and other tools. They harvested fruits, vegetables, berries, nuts, seeds, mushrooms, tea, and salmon. They spent winters in these deep, sheltered valleys, used the region's rivers as a transportation network, and traded with other indigenous groups in the coastal rainforest, hundreds of kilometers away.
Knowing that now,
The inland
that'd be so cool to
rainforest's
see and
strangest
experience,
inhabitant
wouldn't it?
is the
I
mountain
don't know.
caribou.
Like to know like that stuff happened then.
Most
At one
caribou
point,
are
like
found
people
in
were
the tundras
traveling
further
on the
north,
same path I
migrating
am to
vast
trade.
distances in large
And I'm
herds,
just camping
digging
and like
for
surviving
plants and
like
lichens beneath
a
the
beast,
snow.
like a man. I'm
During
just
the winter,
holy,
the mountain
we're just driving.
caribou almost exclusively eat rainforest lichens found high in the canopy, using the deep winter snowpack as a stepladder to access what would normally be out of reach.
So
They
cool.
travel in
I
small
wonder what the
groups and
temperature
migrate
is.
vertically, moving seasonally between the high mountains and the lush valleys below. And their habitat range coincides so closely with the boundaries of the inland rainforest that scientists consider them an indicator for the health of the entire ecosystem. Mountain caribou survive by hiding, traversing vast, rugged areas to avoid predators.
What's a
This
caribou?
forest,
Sort of thing, you
with its
know,
steep
like
slopes
I play
and
Red
dense
Dead. I'm pretty sure
vegetation,
they're in that probably.
is
It's
the
like
perfect
I should probably
hiding
know.
place. As we
I'm
move into
thinking-
the next part of this video,
He's not gonna show it?
everything we've just talked about is going to change.
Is it like kind of
And
a
you're gonna
moose
see
maybe,
this
or like maybe
rainforest
like
story is playing out right now. Decisions are currently being made that will decide this ecosystem.
time to skip that sponsor?
My
Not even
research
gonna
for
lie.
this story includes plenty of books and helping me to stay informed. Following Thompson's expeditions, fur trading dominated this region's economy until the mid-1800s, when mining booms brought a new wave of settlers to the Rockies. They cleared small sections of forest to build homes and farms, mostly in these fertile and easily accessible valleys. They hunted caribou and fished for salmon, and they set up small sawmills to supply local communities. In the late 1800s, railroads crossed the Rocky Mountains, opening this region for more intensive settlement. Since the 1860s, the country's timber industry had been concentrated around the Great Lakes, much of it under the control of a single
cool
company
and,
called
like,
Weyerhaeuser.
your place gets
But by the end of the
referenced.
century, the
You know what I
forests
mean?
around the Great Lakes had been depleted, and timber companies were looking for new land elsewhere. They heard of a vast, untouched forest in the
Which
northwest.
is pretty interesting
and
because,
began
like, in my
buying
opinion, there's
huge
actually a
chunks
lot of
of
land
land
available
and
in the
buying
Great
up
Lakes
these
areas.
small local sawmills.
Just my opinion.
They even set
That's
up
what I see.
fake
Just land
homesteads,
everywhere.
paying
Which, I mean, people
settlers
probably
to build
own it,
crude
but, like,
shacks at the
what are they
intersection
doing
of
with it?
4 plots
Just
of
having
land,
trees sit there?
forging documents
Which
to
we need, I
qualify
guess, but,
forest
like,
homesteads,
I got a
and then
vision.
logging the land. In just a few years, the timber industry had acquired vast sections of forest, but with rugged terrain and no roads, harvesting it seemed impossible. The solution was to use the countless waterways connecting this region. They started with trees on the edges of
Wondering
lakes
what kind of
and
fish are in
rivers,
there
dumping them
right
in the
now.
water
That's what I
to be
am.
floated to sawmills downstream. Logs would often get
Wow.
stuck and pile up, so men nicknamed river pigs guided them downstream, wearing spiked boots to walk on top of the logs as they rolled.
What a dangerous job. Didn't
making
many
of
people
log
die doing
jams,
that? Is this
sometimes
where like
using
Paul Bunyan
dynamite
came
to
from
do
or no?
so, and risking drowning
That was
or being
before this.
crushed if they slipped in. Once the timber at the water's edge was gone, they pushed
Jeez.
deeper into the forest,
I learned about that a long time ago
targeting the
with those
most
log
accessible
people.
sites in the
That was
lowest
crazy cool.
valleys, and building small railroads and water flumes to move logs to the riverbanks. Loggers worked in temporary camps, moving from site to site as forests.
Wouldn't that be a fun job to have?
They worked 10-hour days,
wait,
6
people
days a
probably
week,
do that.
sleeping on straw
Maybe it's
mattresses
easier now, is what I
and
say.
tents
Wouldn't it
or
be fun to
crude
have? Because back in the
bunkhouses,
day,
and unable to
it'd be
bathe
hard, though.
or do laundry. Within a decade,
Like,
timber
was it
had become
training?
the region's main industry,
assume so.
with more than
Like,
300 sawmills employing half of the people
I don't
living
know.
here,
just
and
back in the
companies
day.
continuing to merge and buy land.
You
At the
stand
same
on the log,
time,
boy?
the Roosevelt
Yeah.
administration was investigating fraud
And
between
that's
companies
it,
and
right?
politicians, and
Wish
working
it was
with
that
the
easy
newly
right
created
now
Forest
for me.
Service to create tens of millions of acres of national forests.
What do you mean I gotta
including
call you?
10 right
I
here in
applied.
the inland rainforest. By the 1910s, timber
Whatever.
companies had already spent millions of dollars just accessing these forests. Shipping wood out of Idaho was expensive, and demand for lumber in the US was falling, but supply and competition continued to rise. Timber companies tried to compensate by cutting faster, but that just sank prices even more. And that was all before the Great Depression. Mills closed, large timber companies declared bankruptcy, and the timber industry in the inland rainforest dried up.
Damn. It's just desolate now. I wonder if there's any like spooky stuff there if I'll get into
The Second World War brought a renewed demand for lumber. Bulldozers, trucks, and retired military machinery allowed access to more remote locations. A vast network of forest roads began to cut through this region. Loggers switched from harvesting individual trees to clear-cutting entire stands. Faster harvests and roads connecting the region allowed for even more consolidation of the industry into fewer and larger companies and the disappearance of even more local mills. Within a few decades, privately owned forests in the Northwest were depleted, so timber companies started putting pressure on the Forest Service to significantly ramp up logging in the national forests. And they did. At the same time, a conservation movement was growing in the U.S. Scientists and economists were publishing reports that the national forests were being overcut, and citizens were protesting. The eventual result was a dramatic reduction of logging in national forests.
I mean, that seems
Much
good,
of the
right?
damage was already done.
And what is this national forest? You said it a few
Today in
times.
Idaho,
My
old-growth
apology.
forests exist in small patches, separated by clear cuts,
Idaho
uniform
rainforest, that's
stands
it.
of young trees, and forest roads. Dams have flooded vast sections of rainforest, submerging valleys and ending the salmon migration in several rivers.
Damn!
Indigenous groups
How am I
have
gonna-
been
I don't even
driven
like
from their
fish. How am I
traditional
gonna fish
territories,
now?
with some communities wiped out entirely. Only a small handful of grizzly bears remain in Idaho, and in 1983, mountain caribou were listed as endangered.
There they are.
With
They're
fewer
like
than 30
deers.
animals
They're like
in the
reindeer.
South Selkirk herd.
That's what they look
Only
like.
herd in
Is that
the
a good
US.
observation or a bad one?
Those that survive
Let me know.
continue to do so by hiding in the most remote valleys and the mountains above.
My little sister, she calls deer reindeer. It's so funny. She's 3. Like, why? Like, what? That's so cute, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because, like, imagine if all of the deer were reindeer. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be different? Imagine, like, there's just, like, this movie or this story where all of the deer are reindeer. And that's all that's different about, like, their universe or whatnot. And, like, I wonder what would be happening there.
Now remember, what makes mountain caribou so unique is that their main food source is canopy lichens. And many of these lichen species only grow in old-growth forests. So the lichen are dependent on the oldest forests. The caribou are dependent on the
Lichen?
lichen.
That's
And
fire.
across the region, much of the rainforest that is protected has been set aside as caribou
Liking
habitat.
that.
So without the caribou, those protections can be removed. The result is this ecological house of cards.
Wonder
Use
if
the
there's any
oldest
flowers
forests,
there. Oh my
and use the
goodness!
rest.
Imagine like just stumbling upon like a
Logging,
like a bunch of
replanting
flowers.
forests creates what are called early
Like a little
seral
flower patch or like
ecosystems.
just at least one.
Places with small trees and shrubs, the very beginning of a forest. These provide nothing for caribou, but they're perfect food for deer and moose. Widespread conversion of old growth to young forests has resulted in
What great
booming
way of visualizing
populations of
it,
deer
this
and
guy.
moose, which means more prey for wolves
Al-
and mountain lions. So their
Aidin
populations
Robbins.
have grown too, and wolves and mountain lions also
Very good
eat
video, man.
caribou. So as these forests have become increasingly fragmented, caribou have been pushed into smaller pockets of old-growth forest with less food, surrounded by more predators. In 2019, a female caribou was captured near the Idaho-Canada border and relocated to a recovery program further north. The last caribou gone from the contiguous United States.
Damn, I didn't even know. Just put a clutch my fist. No, we lost one. The last one from the United States, like they brought him to Canada, like. I mean, like that's sad as fuck, but like
The good news
they
is
brought
that
him there
this
to save
story
him,
isn't
like a
over.
trade deal, like to get
Further
him out of
north,
there.
in British Columbia, where this forest is at its biggest and best, large chunks of old-growth forest.
Oh, it's so
still
cool!
make
It just
up much
leads
of
right
the
into there. I kind of forget
The
Canada.
caribou and grizzly bears
Canada connects to
are still
Idaho.
here, and the
Kinda
ecosystem
forget
is
that.
still intact.
Does
For
it?
now. Since the 1970s, the rate of logging here has doubled, most of it coming from old-growth forests. And since 1990, mountain caribou populations have been cut in half, with fewer than 1,500 remaining. Some of Canada's first national parks were in this region, and more than 700,000 acres of caribou habitat have been protected. Just last year, British Columbia protected a 750 square kilometer area, including old-growth forests and caribou habitat. But even if we stopped logging the inland rainforest tomorrow, the large areas of connected old forest required for a stable caribou population will take decades to develop. By the time their habitat regenerates, the caribou will already be gone. So, governments, conservation groups, and several of British Columbia's First Nations have begun experimenting with intervention. This study from last year analyzed the various methods for boosting caribou populations and found one method that consistently worked.
Don't get rid of the
Killing
moose, tell you
wolves.
that much.
With a lot of conservation debates focusing on the
wolves.
reintroduction of
In
wolves
Idaho?
and other large
How
predators,
many wolves live in Idaho?
this is
Like
quite the
400?
reversal, and it's been met with plenty of controversy.
Is
Other
that crazy
innovations
off?
include supplemental
Hold on,
feeding
Idaho.
and transferring pregnant caribou.
If there's like
to
400 in
enclosures
total,
where
wouldn't
they
that be
can
fine? I'm
safely
thinking
give
like
birth.
that's how much there
Ultimately,
should
the
be.
biggest finding from this
If they kill
study
them down to
is
like
that
40, wouldn't that be
intervention
really
works.
bad?
It's just a matter of choosing whether or not we want to apply it. The ball is in
Okay,
Canada's
well,
court,
obviously
but
there's
the
probably a lot
US
more than 400
is
now that I
not
think
off the
about it,
hook.
right? Oh, I can't believe I said
Old-growth
that.
forests have pretty good protections down here.
What if they trim them down to
mature
400?
forests
Wouldn't that be
don't.
fun?
These are the forests that
Maybe
are
that's the problem.
almost back to old growth conditions.
But it's Idaho, like what could be
Timber
going on there? I thought there was
continues to
just
be
like,
harvested
maybe it's
from
even the wrong place, but I thought there
Over
was
the
just
last
potatoes
2
there.
years,
That's why I'm like, there's a
the Forest Service has
rainforest.
been preparing an
What's in here?
amendment strengthening
Imagine you're just in the
old-growth
rainforest and you just
practices.
stumble upon
And
potatoes.
more than a
Or maybe
million
watermelons. That
Americans
makes a lot of
asked them to
sense.
include
Like,
mature
because you find them in
forests as
Minecraft in
well.
the rainforest.
But just a couple weeks ago,
Maybe not in
rather
America.
than announcing such an amendment, they abruptly dropped.
Who knows though? You can only find out by exploring. Because
Right
maybe
now,
if there's not an
we are
old kind of melon, you find a
collectively
new kind.
deciding how we should engage with this forest.
So don't doubt me.
And standing
Oh my
here,
gosh.
I
Imagine
feel
finding like a wendigo in there.
I'm hundreds
Wouldn't
of
that
miles
be
from the
scary?
ocean, but drops of it are falling.
Or anything, I don't even know.
Salmon will bring its nutrients to these streams. Bears and eagles will move those nutrients into this forest. This forest will grow lichens in its canopy. Caribou will eat those lichens to survive. And their survival
That
may
sounds
decide
beautiful.
what my species chooses to do with this entire ecosystem.
Imagine like
This
if we
place
planted like
feels
giant
so good.
Halloween
Every
fun
piece of it
guy
fits together
there.
so
Wouldn't that be
well.
cool? Wouldn't that
Then
look
there's me.
beautiful?
I travel on logging roads.
And we should plant
named
cherry
nature.
blossoms too. That looks so
I tread
pretty.
carefully but imperfectly.
Just why not?
And sometimes I look
Just make the
around and
earth what we
wonder,
want it to be,
what
can't
am
we?
I doing here?
It's not like this bad.
I believe others must have felt this too. The fur trappers, the loggers, the scientists. They
Man,
must
I
have
wonder how
felt
many
this
good
place
days
around
they
them
had.
and asked the same questions. What are we doing here? What should we do here? What will we do here? And whoever ends up answering those questions, deciding what we'll do with the world's strangest rainforest.
I don't think there's
I hope
anything
they felt
strange
this
about
too.
it. I think it's very unique and special and very awesome the way it is. Less strange is good. Wow. That was so interesting and unique. Wasn't it? What a good experience to take people on. And he did another video on the Appalachian Rainforest, I see. So maybe that's something to check out. Let me know if you want to see that. Or what other kind of videos you want me to react to. Having a good day, feeling good. Hope everybody else is too. Or at night, if that's what you're doing too. I don't know, I was just trying to rhyme there, I guess. Hope you had a good time, and thanks for watching.